Net MRR, time to value, customer satisfaction, net promoter score, net revenue retention, product usage KPIs. These all metrics might sound very difficult and might sound very exhausting right at the start when you're looking at a customer success team. But we have an expert panel today who will help us understand this in a clear and crisp manner and help us use these tools in our day-to-day expertise. Welcome to the second episode of Customer Success Sutras. Hi Shankar and Vinod. We'll straight away start off with the topic, net MRR churn. What exactly is this and how will it help a customer success team? Shankar, why don't you give your insights?
Yeah, so net MRR churn is a pretty important metric, which I think doesn't deserve the attention that it deserves, because net MRR churn allows the team leads and CSMs themselves on how they're doing in performance, because it is actually comparing the revenue from existing set of customers book of business from month to month, and so expansions and upsells and such do not hide the fact that a CSM might be losing revenue. And so I think it's very important for the team leads and managers, CSM team managers, to keep an eye out on this at all times, just so that they know that the CSMs are not focusing on customers which have upsell revenue potential versus customers that are at risk.
That's great. So, Vinod, being a product owner in customer success space, how easy or how difficult is it to keep a track of net MRR for each individual client, considering large amount of customer success teams have tens and hundreds of clients? How do they track it? How do we simplify it or automate it?
Yeah, so Anup, so we can. It's fairly easy, calculation. It's the percentage of the monthly recurring revenue from the existing customers over a period of time, right? So you can calculate this on the entire business level, full book of business, for the company, and even on each and every CSM level, right? If a customer success manager is managing 30 accounts, like what is the net MRR for that CSM accounts. So you can do it in both ways, like full CS team performance and individual customer success manager performance. And there are tools which help you easily to calculate this and keep monitoring these two metrics easily.
That sounds great. Hope our audience will try and leverage this new metric that they have learned. Let's move to the second metric that we want to talk about, time to value. What exactly does this mean and how will it impact a customer success manager?
Yeah, so Anup, this is two things I want to say about time to value. First of all, in study after study, it has shown that the lifetime value of a customer is dependent upon how quickly they were onboarded. And time to value is a way to measure how fast the onboarding went. The other point I want to make about time to value is that it can be a little tricky in the sense that what a CSM might feel is time to value may not be always agreed to by the customer, just because the aha moment, as some people call it, might be different for a customer than it is for what CSMs thinks it should be. So it's something again that the CSM and their supervisors should keep an eye out on. And it's only valuable when the CSMs and the customers both agree that that is the time when they feel they went live, or that is the actual time to value for both parties.
That's great. So, from your perspective, from a product perspective, how is it different? How is the time to value different for different customers at different product stages, and how is it different for different industries?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. So the value, right? So the value changes from customer to customer. So one customer using your product and the value he's getting from your product is different from another one, either from a different industry or even from the same industry. The kind of productivity, the kind of revenue attribution which they get will be like totally different. So that's why as Shankar mentioned, like it is little bit tricky to capture in a right way, because it is very subjective on the value, and even like so the value which a CSM might think might not be a correct one, right? It might even change also with the time. Like when they are just starting the onboarding process, they might have like, if we wanted to get value, okay, this amount of value in this way, while they're onboarding. After 6 months, what they are achieving from that tool might be totally different. So having constant conversation in the quarterly business reviews, they can get more insight from the customer directly. So but yeah, so there are ways to do this in a productive way, with daily QBR, constant QBRs with CSM.
Sounds good. Staying on that topic for 15 more seconds, Shankar. So time to value, like Vinod was mentioning, is a tricky metric to track and kind of use in it in a meaningful way. What are those one or two tips that you can give to customer success managers to make the most out of this metric?
So the single most important tip for a CSM is to talk about the time to value during the first kickoff call. So there is no better time than the initial call, because that's where the customer is just signed the deal. They've heard a lot about the product and have heard a lot about value that they can get from the product. And this is the time for CSMs to first of all understand why the customer bought this product, what is the value they're looking for, and during the onboarding, when would that value be realized? And if you wait too long, then the customer will start forming some, assumptions and things of that nature, and it will get harder and harder to reset. So don't be shy about it, because sometimes it can get a little tricky to talk about the actual value that the customer is expecting from the product versus what might have been talked about in the previous conversations. And so be upfront and use the first kickoff meeting to try and nail it as much as possible.
Got it. Understood. So we'll quickly move to the third metric that we want to talk about today. And this, I think, is the most infamous one. I think people must have already known about this. We'll talk about customer satisfaction. Given the nature of this metric and its rampant usage, what is a meaningful way to look at it, and how do you define it in a more meaningful fashion?
So that's a great way to frame CSAT. So basically, you're right, Anup, this is something that gets used a lot. Almost all organizations calculate CSAT. And the one thing about customer satisfaction surveys is that its value is in not it being a lagging indicator. It's kind of more of a predictive, a leading indicator in terms of what might happen to the churn or the lifetime that the customer will be staying with you. So this is something you want to do on a regular basis. It's not like a one and done type of deal. And in multiple studies, it has shown to be actually a better, truer predictor of customer lifetime with the product than the next metric that we will talk about. But so yeah, I mean, CSAT is something that no organization should live without. And it's something that should be on a quarterly cycle, in my opinion. That's the right frame. Some people do it on a monthly basis. That works for some, but I think at least once a quarter is absolutely a must.
Understood. So, using products like Sage Array, how can someone collect the CSAT score seamlessly? Is it a 10 years process for the CSMs to chase the client managers, chase the account managers to get this kind of customer satisfaction scores, or how is it? How easy is it?
I think so these days, tracking the score, like everybody is tracking. Like you see, like just 3 smiley faces, within the product itself from some of these big companies, like Google and Facebook. But like same kind of strategy, like so. So getting these surveys filled out from customer is the most challenging part in collecting CSAT scores, right? So I mean, of course, like you wanted to, track, okay, what is this quarterly, what is my monthly, CSAT scores, but like you wanted to get as much data as possible through this service from all of your customers. So even though customers cannot live without it, but companies don't get the service filled out from all of their customers. Like never, I mean, I never seen any company through my research getting like more than 80% CSAT surveys getting filled out, right? So reaching that level is one of the big goal, and monitoring comes later. I mean, once you have a good data, like having them intact is good. But to your point question, so so what is the best way to do it? Like I think using CSAT service in multiple ways, like whenever a support ticket gets solved, like immediately sending out, okay, like is the customer satisfied with the resolution or not? Not only this through email, but these days tools like do this in an embedded way, like emails, even chats, even product embedding, right? Like whenever an issue is solved, okay, you directly go and pop up a survey within the product which they are using, and you can immediately get it on the spot, right? So there are like multiple ways on how to collect and increase this quality of the CSAT and have it intact in terms of providing best customer service.
That's great. Thank you. Let's move to the fourth metric. This again is something that is very widely used, and I think most of the people seeing this video might have already filled few of this. What is a net promoter score? What is the NPS service that we keep getting, either as a B2C customer or as a B2B customer?
Yeah, so net promoter score, this is probably the top vanity metric, as people call it, because everybody seems to understand what it's supposed to do. Whether it does that or not, it could be a topic for another session for us. But anyway, so it's a way to divide your user base into three groups: detractors, promoters, and passives. And then to kind of have a formula that I think Vinod might touch upon a little bit, is to see how you're doing overall, and it's used across the board. Pretty much every SaaS company does it, and like Vinod mentioned, a lot of the time it's kind of in-app prompt for net promoter score. That is the most common way people are doing it, probably to handle some of the challenges of trying to get a customer to actually take it for you. Even though it's literally one question survey, but any CSM knows that even to get a customer to take one question survey is not the easiest thing. But yes, I mean, you cannot ignore it, even though it might be of limited value in terms of being an actionable score or a metric. But it's a must-have.
Understood. So, Vinod, your views on it. How do we actually get this score, and what is the significance?
Yeah, so as Shankar mentioned, it's on a scale of like 0 to 10. Getting your customers to just click on a button between 1 and 10, and having that to use your NPS score, re-indexing it from like -100 to 100, and to figure out where we are at exactly. So, and most of the companies like don't even get past 70 as an NPS score. But I think that is the North Star. Like most of the companies try to achieve, not just B2C, like even in the B2B also. Yeah, so even like some of the successful companies, like which I have seen, like they just have like 50, 56, 57, they stuck there. But yeah, having that metric is very important. But again, like getting getting these surveys filled is still a challenge. The data is very skewed. Only few customers just fill out. I was actually looking at one survey which was published by a company in CS industry, told like, so they did a survey across like many B2B SaaS companies. Like only the average the NPS survey fill rate is only 20%. Only 20%. Okay. So like you don't even get the data from the remaining 80% of the data from your customers. So I think that actually tells you like why this is a vanity metric. but yeah, like maybe you get some some intelligence, some insights from the 20% of the data which you can use it for.
Definitely, that makes sense. So we'll come to our final metric for this video, which is net revenue retention, NRR. Shankar, if you can share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so NRR or NDRR, which is something that gets used in US and in other countries, net dollar revenue retention or net revenue retention. This has kind of become the single most important metric coming out of the success organization for the CFOs and for the CEOs, because ultimately it's all about revenue. And this is where the contribution of customer success is kind of captured in a literally a dollar amount in the US or local currencies in other countries, and is reported up. And this is like all public companies are now talking about it, making it available in their quarterly results they do in the US, or semi-annual results they do in Europe and APAC regions, and they will report on what their NRR was. And I was just recently looking at Box and Rubrik, two big SaaS companies, public companies, and they're all in their filings talk about the NRR. So it's definitely something that the executive management of customer success teams have to keep a close eye out on, and expect some tough questions if it doesn't meet the gold standard, which is considered 140% these days from the CEOs.
Got it. So, Vinod, how do companies or how do CSMs arrive at this number?
Yeah. So, just entire how healthy is your book of business, right? So, how much are you losing and how much are you gaining in a single number? I think the North Star metric for any not just CS team, but like any revenue generation team, I would say. So, so basically, so if you have revenue, let's say 100 million at this point, by next month, like how much of that amount are you losing because of the churn, and how much did you gain by selling to a new customer, or are expanding any existing customers through new revenue. So when you add and subtract both of them, like whatever the number you get as a percentage, like that's what your net revenue and retention. But I would add like one more point, like so of course, like revenue is the best number for a company's overall healthiness. But when you wanted to look at the same thing on a customer level, there is like one more metric called net logo retention. So like you just flip it around and add your customer or accounts count to that and do the same calculation again.
Understood. It sounds like a very key metric from a revenue and sales standpoint. So these are our top 5 metrics. And before we end the call, I'd like to add one more bonus metric, if we can discuss that, which is the product usage KPIs from a SaaS or a product company perspective. Shankar, if you can add your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is product usage is something that is growing in acceptance as more and more customer success organizations deploy tools and start to look at what the product usage is telling them. It could be captured by MAU, monthly active users, daily active users, time spent on the platform. There are many ways of capturing it, and different KPIs in product usage could be relevant for different verticals. But definitely using tools that are available, you can capture it. You can slice dice the data. You can look at nice dashboards, and it's something that all good CS organizations must use as a way to see how their usage is across their customer base.
That's great. So, we know the two things that Shankar has mentioned. A, how do we capture these KPIs, and B, how do we meaningfully represent them, even in terms of a dashboard or even in terms of a tool? What are your views?
Yeah. So how to capture? I think so many SaaS companies these days use this these event tracking tools these days. You have Mixpanel, Amplitude, and Segment, and there are like 10 more tools in the market. So you can use any of them, but some companies like don't use them because of the data security because of the business they are in. But they do like their own logging of customer events in house. But either way, you have like all of these event tracking. If a customer is using a particular feature within your platform or not, like how many times he is using, like how many times he's logging in, it can actually start there. But it can go as deep as possible, right? Like, I mean, so if you have like 10 features, like is the customer using all of them, right? And how deep he is actually using, like width and the depth of your product usage is very important in terms of providing the value. It actually like links up to the time to value metric, which we just discussed before, Anup and Shankar. So if a customer think, okay, like I am getting most of the value from these particular features, like you have a way to like have a tracker around it, right? Like only you wanted to see if a customer is getting value from these features, like maybe you want to track only those, like how well these features are providing value. But yeah, overall, I mean, you can have a full dashboards from these tools, or you can use an easy to use KPI as a single metric, right? I mean, of course, product usage sometimes it can become so much messy. You don't know which one to look at when you have like so many customers, so many features, so many modules in the product.
Understood. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, Shankar, for sharing your thoughts. So these are our top 5 CSM metrics that every CS manager should know. For more such videos, please do keep watching our Customer Success Sutra series that we are going to do on a weekly basis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you.